Today we are visiting an excerpt from the Island Treasures podcast episode with Lisa Kendall, entitled The Growth in Caregiving, Healing Through Trauma. We start with Lisa explaining the significance of a grove of redwood trees, how they need each other to survive as their root system causes them to bind together for support, and how folks who grew up with trauma within a dysfunctional family need this type of supportive system to overcome and heal. How can you lovingly care for your care recipient when you carry childhood trauma that was caused by your care recipient? Lisa shares about an adult child who receives a call from the hospital to come and pick up their parent who is being discharged. But they are estranged from this parent. What does the adult child do? Listen to Lisa to gain perspective of how you have choices. All caregivers need and deserve support. When you are a caregiver with pain and trauma in your past, your need for help and supports is multiplied. Unhealed trauma needs to be addressed. Healing can cause growth. Isn't that what we want? I invite you to listen to the whole episode to learn about trauma-informed approaches and techniques to help you grow and heal through trauma.
And I like to tell the story about redwood trees. Because redwood trees, being an East Coast person, I don't get to see them, but redwood trees are so massive and so beautiful and just glorious. But they grow in groups. They're officially called groves, but I think of them as families. And my understanding is that the root system on a redwood tree is very, very skinny, like the diameter of your finger. And the roots are very shallow. They don't go down much more than 6 feet or so, but they spread out really, really wide, and they actually entangle with the other trees in the grove. So they support each other as they get so big. They share nutrients. Who knows what kind of communication they might do. We're learning about trees and plants and their communication, but they have to be together or they can't survive. If a redwood tree somehow tried to grow outside of that grove, it would fall over because it wouldn't have the support of all of those other trees keeping its roots kind of anchored, and it wouldn't have any support for that size as it got so big and so grand and so glorious. People are the same way. People from birth need to see approval in the eyes of their caretaker. They need to see that they are loved, that they're safe, that they are worthy. And it's not that a parent necessarily doesn't give that to a child on purpose. If somebody is living with a lot of grief or depression, they may have a sad face for a long time, right around the time that they've given birth to a new baby. And if they are not able to sparkle and interact with that newborn, we know now from modern neuroscience that does have an impact on people's brain architecture. It can have an impact on their immune system, and it can make them more prone to health issues by midlife, chronic health issues. It's true that these events are more common than we ever thought that they were. That a lot of people are living with what we call adverse childhood experiences. And that adverse childhood experiences is, it's shortened up by the acronym ACE. It's the ACE study out of Kaiser Permanente system in California and the Center for Disease Control. And they've been looking at this stuff for a long time now with tens of thousands of people. And we know that there is a correlation between having these bad things happen in childhood and your health at midlife and across the lifespan. Now, when it comes to caregiving, we might be the person who grew up in that family where we didn't get everything that we needed. And maybe we went on, created our own wonderful life, got ourselves to school, found nice partners, raised some good kids, had a nice career. But if the parent who didn't give you everything that you needed now needs help, you're sort of pulled back into that close orbit with that parent and probably with other siblings as well. And it can bring up a lot of feelings from your earlier days. I like to tell a story about someone I knew who had called in for some caregiver advice and some help. And the story they told was that their parent had been an alcoholic person who lived with alcoholism and who had been abusive and had left the family when this person was just in the very young teens. Hadn't seen or heard from them in all these years, decades, had gone on to create a successful life, a happy family, a nice home, a good job. And then one day, out of the blue, as sometimes happens with caregiving, a hospital called and said, your parent is here, you need to come and get them and take them home. And this person was literally in tears on the phone talking about this situation and saying, I don't know this person, they were horrible. I'm being asked to do something that I don't think I can do. I don't think I want to do it. And I feel like I'm 13 again.
Yeah.
This just took an adult right back to some really horrendous memories. People do have a choice about whether or not to say yes to caregiving. It may take some real guidance and help from a gifted care manager or coach or therapist to help them figure out how to do that. But people can find their right place on the care partner team. And it's not always to just say, yes, I'll bring this parent back into my home, even though I don't know them and they hurt me terribly. Sometimes people do that and healing does happen. But I would always assume that you're going to be putting yourself through a lot if you try to do it alone.